And welcome back. Yeah, I took several days to finally record this because, as already said, I don't really like this area. It's practically a maze, and apparently even the manual says it would be a good idea to draw yourself a map as you proceed in this area. I am not going to do that, mostly because I am not going to have one hand off this the entire time to draw a map. And also because I don't think it's really to the point that you need a map. I mean, it's not like it's a Knight of Ratatosk's version of Niflheim. Now that was confusing. Probably mostly because I'm pretty sure I got to all four corners of the area and killed the demons, and I still didn't get any way to get to the next level. Then again, that game isn't very good, so... You know, I actually spent the day reading up a few things about this game and about its sequel, Terranigma. Among them being that the Japanese script of this was very different. Like, sometimes the English version makes it seem like Will is actually talking when he's narrating, and other times he's actually narrating when in the Japanese version he was actually talking. Which, for the most part, I overall was generally pretty sure when he talked and when he narrated. But, you know, if the game says so, or the manual, whatever, then yes. Like, among the interesting things I read was, well, some stuff that, you know, I can't tell you yet because kind of a spoilerish thing that happens later. Others being... well, small things like Eric being referred to as a boy in Phrygia, whereas in the English version here, you might recall he was referred to as a man or a young man. Those are slopes. They pretty much act like, you know, the slopes in the Incan ruins. If we go down those, we jump over here. Oh, you. Ow. They sort of home in on us. They're flames. Speaking of flames, you recall the Reaper-looking things in Mu? They apparently are called flashers, which I find hilarious. I really should watch out with this. Oh, I have herbs. Speaking of herbs, the localized version of this game is actually more difficult than the Japanese one, because in the Japanese version, the herbs healed all HP. No matter how much HP you had, if you ate an herb, it healed all HP. If you recall, as mentioned before, or mentioned dozens of videos ago actually, the herbs in this version only heal about... what was it? About 5 whole circles here. So, gotta jump. Can't reach that, of course. I did read, though, some much more interesting things about Terranigma. Like some dummied out stuff. Like there was originally a quiz that Quintet could give us, which gave us a Magirok in Neo Tokyo if we, got the area out, or the building. And there was actually some pretty heavy foreshadowing, well, foreshadowing to the extent of being pretty obvious, in the names. Like, several things were eventually just shortened because, well, English translation, and they can't really give you the full Japanese text because, Japanese is written in kanji and hiragana and katakana, where you can say things with symbols and kanji much faster than you can with our regular alphabet letters. And one of the bigger revelations or things that I read there, was that Krista was originally called Crystalholm. Crystalholm. So basically foreshadowing that Stockholm, Stockholm and Crystalholm, and that Magirock were originally called Prime Blue compared to Crystal Blue that you got, in the English version. I think I've said it before, I overall don't mind it when English translations do things, because, if you ever try to translate anything and you try to go for tips, the tips you generally get are as freely as possible, but also as close as possible to the original text. Which can be pretty difficult, with a translation. If there's a pun, you have to think of a way to, get the same pun without it being, weird or making no sense or just being really bad. Which a good translator can do, as long as they, as long as they have proper control over the language that they are translating and the language that they are translating to. Also, as you can see, that is the powered-up version of the Dark Friar. It can grow larger and into multiple circlets, so it hits plural enemies. So don't ever tell anyone, oh, why didn't you translate this better? I mean, that's so easy, which, if you are a professional translator, then yes, you really should be capable of translating without losing anything, but also without adding anything that is really, really stupid. Yes, we do have to advance our way by making the vines grow here, but I can't remember if we do that by defeating enemies or by putting certain items onto something. I think it was an item. A mushroom growth or something like that. I keep forgetting that I'm not Will and I don't have Psycho Dash anymore. Or the slide. Oh, I didn't press on time. I also read that, with the Japanese version, or the original Japanese text, there is a large difference to the point that the story of this game actually suffered in not being explained as well. I admit, I played this game multiple times, and at times I'm still like, I don't quite understand this. Or that doesn't quite make sense. Though, as stated, this has more to do... There's a treasure chest over here? Nah? Or does that just lead to the next area? It just leads to the next area. Where was I? Yeah, the story is somewhat better translated, or makes more sense in the Japanese version. Then again, I also read that the story is much more in-depth explained in the Japanese version of the manual, or in the manual itself. So, I mean, with Final Fantasy IV, when I played it on the Super Nintendo, yeah, there was a fan translation, but I also looked at the translation of the official English version, and while that did deal... it changed things, but it also really altered things in a way that makes no sense. Like, there's a scene where... Okay, it does only lead to a treasure. There's a scene where Cecil says that Tella's Edward's father-in-law, sort of, but in the official English version it was translated as just being his father, which made it seem like there was some incestual subtext between Edward and Anna. And there's also a lot of information about Cain that was originally not... that was there in the original, but not in the English version, because once again there's only a certain limit that you can write something in English and on the Super Nintendo cartridge in terms of room. So, you know, that's just... it's such a fine area there. There are technical limitations, but it always seems like such a poor excuse to not translate something properly, or just being in the localized version, playing the localized version of a game, and you're just missing things which can range from backstory for the characters to actual plot explanations that you just didn't get because you can't translate it well, or you didn't have enough room to properly translate it in the game. It's just terrible. Not to mention, it kind of sucks, but thankfully we've advanced in technology and it's overall not an issue anymore. Though the problem with translating still persists in that... take Final Fantasy XIII for example. A lot of people say, oh, the lines are cheesy, and I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, but in the Japanese version they weren't cheesy. They were actually pretty decent. They weren't cheesy, it's just that the English translation upped the cheesiness. Then again, my big issue with Lightning Returns... sweet. My big issue with Lightning Returns' localized version is that the translation is horrendous. I know that the translation was, you know, a pretty rushed job. The original game came out in Japan in November 2013, and the localized version came out February 2014. 2013, 2014, yes. Yay! Mushroom drops! We need those to grow the thingies. They only have a one-time use, so we're gonna collect multiple of them, from what I recall. The translation is horrendous, and I know that's probably because, you know, there was not very much time to properly translate it. Since there were only a few months between, a few months between original version and localized version coming out. But didn't anyone proofread the damn thing? Or even think, or even really bother to listen to what the original... I'm probably gonna have to turn into Friedon for that. You know, what the original Japanese script was? Or what they were saying? If you look at a scene between lightning and snow, English version, lots of jokes and like, oh, Nissan, you're so totally not liking me despite, you know, whatever now. Like, with my gorgeous hair and whatnot. And I'm just like, that's nowhere even close to what was originally being said. It's especially noticeable since Lightning Returns offers you the Japanese voice track to download. Originally it was free, but now it costs something. And it's just so out of character because, I mean, okay, Snow making a joke, you know, that's not out of character for him, but then Light says things like she's joining in on the joke, and I'm just like, guys, even if Light, you know, began to accept Snow in Final Fantasy XIII, she really wouldn't joke like that with him. Or even a scene towards the end between Fang and Vanilla. Something like... oh, what was it? I'm trying to remember because I mostly play the Japanese version. I originally imported the Japanese version. Then I learned that the localized version would include potential Japanese voice track DLC, so I opted to buy that eventually too. So I have both versions, and I can really tell the difference between the scripts. So I always try to remember what was said in the Japanese version, which was said in the English version. Because there is a huge difference. 60% of the time, the lines are just too different. What was it? I think in the English version, Fang said, not even death is going to separate us, or something like that. And in the original Japanese version, she said about the ritual that they were going to perform. She was saying something along the lines of, we're in this together, or something similar to that. You know, it had to do with being together, but it had nothing to do with, you know, death separating them. Sure, you might say that's a small difference, but I say it's a big difference because there is a difference between what those two things mean and what they mean in each culture. But then that's mostly an overall issue. People say, like, when a character tells another, you know, I will protect you, especially if it's a guy saying this to a girl. You know, Western people are like, what? That is so chauvinistic of you. Misogynistic, like, wow. Dude, seriously, coming on a little strong here. But in Japanese, that actually has to do with the culture and their idea of gender roles still being rather pronounced. Like, if a guy, like Kanji in Persona 4, For us, oh, hey, this guy likes drawing and is good at sewing, stuff like that. Hey, you know, whatever, that's kind of cool. Wherein in Japan, that is still seen as a very feminine hobby and, like, very unmanly. Yes? Honestly, cannot remember the aura barrier. But whatever, we're getting it. In Japan, the hobby of, like, art or sewing is seen as, you know, feminine and not what a man should be doing, because a man is supposed to be strong and brute and testosterone-filled and all of that. Whereas Japan is still okay also with the metrosexual appearance, in that a man who uses, you know, hair products and whatnot and still looks attractive and all, and metrosexual and blah blah blah, is seen as manly because he knows he doesn't have to be the beard-wearing, muscle-bound guy to look manly. Same issue with Naoto. She's seen as, like, there are idiots who think that Naoto is transgendered because she wears boys' clothes and because of a stupid misinterpretation of what her shadow says. When in actuality, she's just... In Japan, the police force is still a very man-heavy, you know, job. There are women there, but they overall don't do a whole lot. There aren't very many women there. They're mostly in the background. Yes, there are some monsters that I missed here. Ah, that direction, yes. In Japan, she's just seen as someone who's trying to get into a job that really is none of her business because women don't do police work that much. So she's trying to set her foot into something that is seen as male. It's like a guy taking yoga. And sure, there are some assholes who, you know, call them, you know, fairies or tinklers or whatever the hell, implying that they're gay just because they do yoga. It's the same idea in saying Naoto is transgendered because, you know, she's trying to come off as a boy. Or even Chihiro from Danganronpa. Wearing the opposite gender's clothes does not make you transgendered. Otherwise, I would be a transgender for like 15 years now. I'm getting really sidetracked with a lot of ideas today. Oh, so many enemies. I think that was the wrong way to jump off. It was. Yes. Attack and... yeah, this is the aura barrier. I think we have to hold down L and R for it to actually work. But... as said, I practically forgot that it existed, so... I'm likely not gonna use it a whole lot. You know, they actually say that the enemies in this area are strong. They're not really. They're weaker compared to Moo. Ah. Goddamn range. Was that the right way? Yay! I got something else to proceed. Good. Ah, more enemies. I thought I pressed A for it to change. As long as it's dead. I'm not sure why I checked just now, since I got the parameter increase. That obviously means that I did get all the enemies. Doing. And I just went into a circle. Yeah. That was the right way. This time. Sort of. So... there it is. Off the top of my head, I couldn't remember where the not connected vine was. And lag. Golden ones, yes. Actually, this area, from what I recall, doesn't have a boss to fight. Basically, this is just a long, elaborate fetch quest for one item. And actually, this game is pretty short. We're pretty much at the final third of the game. I think there are only 2 dungeons left before we get to the Tower of Babel, which, spoilers, is the final area of the game. Ooh, more strength! I was hoping for HP, but that's fine too. Yes? Actually, it's not supposed to be Teapot, it's supposed to be Tearpot. As in the tears that you cry, and I just hit the microphone with my finger, sorry. So once again, this is a typo slash thing that didn't quite make it properly into the game via translation. Also, I should be able to easily leave. If I happen to get lost on the way out, I am going to cut the way out. Okay, we made it back to Euro City. And I kind of got a little lost and went into circles at times. So I mostly cut it out, also because while I was there, leaving, I realized that oh. That's not good. And yes, Teapot, not Tearpot. Tearpot, not Teapot, okay? Anyway, it's filled with tears. Yeah, I kind of went into circles at that point. And I also realized as I was leaving that I was at like 31 minutes and over, so oopsie. Did Eric get changed into a demon? After all, practically everything happens to him. What shrine? Neil? Yeah, that was one of the ways of where the original Japanese translation was a narration, where here it's meant to be, you know, a dialogue. Labor what now? Old friend? You didn't have any friends. Will was the first friend that you have. Well... Oh, it's Hamlet! Well, I guess you are supposed to pronounce it Hamlet as the funny pun that it is. Wonderful. Anyway, what's this about labor trade? Still can't go there. But yeah, as it actually turns out, Lulek Company was not really just a delivery service. It was mostly working with labor trades and were basically one of the main heads for it. And you're not saying anything. Yeah, whatever. I'm pretty sure there was a way to get there. Maybe there was a room in the back? Maybe there was a, way to go behind the mansion? Well... Can't remember how to get there now. Anyway, we actually have to go to the... you don't give me anything for 16. We actually have to go to the next area, but... of course gonna do that next time because... unedited, we just passed 41 minutes, so... See you next time!